This week's module is Module 10, Political Parties. Parties help the public make choices by organizing alternative programs and candidates. Parties act as intermediaries in the electoral process by organizing behind the major issues and screening candidates for office. Parties have to be concerned with policy and present a policy platform, and they have to be concerned with power, getting it so the platform can be translated into real policy. Our current parties can be traced back to the founders. They weren't mentioned in the Constitution, and Madison, among others, thought representation would occur through interests or factions. The first elements of party politics can be traced to conflict between Hamilton and Jefferson during the first presidency of George Washington. They divided along Federalist and Anti-Federalist lines. Hamilton was a Federalist, while Jefferson was an Anti-Federalist, and developed what would become the Republican Party. There were further disagreements over time which led to the two dominant parties becoming the Whigs and Democratic parties by the Civil War. The U.S. has historically had what is known as a two-party system. Why two parties? Number one, habit. Number two, the electoral system makes it hard for minor parties to get a following because we have a single member representation. In congressional races, for example, we elect only one member for each district. The winner is the person who gets more votes than anyone else. In the U.S., you really have no choice but to vote for a Democrat or Republican, or consign yourself to never getting a representative in office. 3. Narrow range of political values in this country. The absence of competing ideological traditions has prevented parties representing different perspectives, such as the socialists, from finding a firm base or a platform that was truly appealing to large sectors of the American public. The characteristics of the American two-party system are, one, that it is not ideologically doctrinaire. American political parties have never been ideologically doctrinaire. American party membership is informal. American parties are also weak. They are loosely organized, incohesive, and undisciplined. These characteristics mean, number one, that power in American parties is decentralized. National party leaders have some influence on positions taken by local candidates, but not a lot. The positions taken by candidates, their financing, campaign organizations, and office staff depend on the local party. 2. Another reason for the incoherence in these parties is that voters' loyalties are fairly weak when it comes to elections. People cross party lines all the time, and since parties know that, they try to get voters from the other party regularly. What is happening to Americans' identification with their political parties? Party identification is declining in this country. The early studies of party identification done in the 1950s and 60s found party identification to be highly stable. That is, it didn't change much over time, nor did it change when people voted for the other party. Then it was argued that how you felt about a party heavily influenced how you would feel about the issues and candidates in daily politics. Today, a lot of these ideas about party identification have changed. It is now believed that attitudes toward candidates and issues affect party identification. The flow of influence is both ways. Your party identification affects how you feel about the candidate to some degree, but impressions and attitudes toward candidates are also formed separately and impact party identification. Party identification is not purely interest-based. In other words, you don't simply attach yourself to the party that you think best reflects your interests, although that certainly is important. A lot of different factors produce party loyalties. One is simple lifetime loyalty. People often root for their own party for reasons that have nothing to do with policies. They root for the quote-unquote home team. 2, people feel bonds with the party that had a candidate for which they felt particularly strong attraction, like many Democrats who think of their party as the party of FDR, hero of the Depression and World War II, or the party of JFK. 3, identification with current party candidates. This goes on year after year. You start out liking Ronald Reagan, then each year find yourself attracted to other Republican nominees. 4, people often find that cultural and family ties predispose them toward one party or the other. People who came from blue-collar, working-class families have always been Democrats and have long-term, heartfelt attachments. 5, current cultural ties also affect, particularly when they reinforce the past. 6, party identification is reinforced by approval of past policies. If you liked what the Democratic Party said in the past, you are predisposed to like them today. 7. Again, this is reinforced when the past is like the present. Your attachment to the party itself increases if you like the policies. Most people, though, are a mixture of these 7 factors.